So Jeremy, what or who inspired you to pursue a career in science?
The first person I would point to, which really transformed where I was going, was somebody called Cheryl Tickle. My first foray into science was I was a medical student, undergraduate at University College London, and I did a degree, an extra degree, and Cheryl was my supervisor. She was everything you would want from a mentor. She was inspirational. She was obviously a brilliant scientist, but she was human, and she understood people, and she really enjoyed the success of others. And that, I think, was where my scientific career took off.
What barriers are women facing in progressing their careers in science?
I believe there are an enormous number of barriers into a career in science. The science career has become brutal. It's become very tough. The progression up it is slippery at best, and there's lots of times when you may drop off it. And I think, in particular, women, but not exclusively women, I think there are a number of other underrepresented groups within the senior levels of the science community. And I think there are reasons for that, some of which we understand. I think the time when your scientific career really takes off is in that, without being ageist, it is in that sort of late 20s through to your sort of late 30s, that decade. And of course, in that time, all sorts of other things are changing, whether you're male or female. And I think it's very difficult to keep people engaged when it is such a precarious, such a vulnerable, such a fragile career, actually, with quite short-term commitments from the community to you. And women are not the only group that fall off at that stage, but they're the most obvious. At the younger level, the PhD level, there is great representation. But as soon as you get a bit above that, people start to drift away. And I think we have to understand why that is. And then as an organisation such as Wellcome Trust, we really have to put in place the flexible approach that allows people to have their lives and have a career and pull those two together. And we've not done that yet.
What actions are Wellcome taking to encourage women to take on scientific leadership positions?
Wellcome is independent. Wellcome, at its best, and I hope this is where we are today, is and should be flexible. It should be able to be out on the edge of what we do in this environment so that we can really not just fund the best science, not just fund the best research, but also change the way research is done. And that's what we seek to do. And we can be flexible. You know, we are not bound by corporate structures. We're not bound by the inevitable constraints that governments are under. So we can really push the boat out, whether that's making careers more flexible, whether it's getting rid of age eligibility or time after a PhD, or a sense that if you commit to 4 years, you've got to do it in 4 years. You know, we can stretch those boundaries. And I believe Wellcome's got a responsibility to do that, because I appreciate that other agencies, governments, corporate structures, industries, others, do have more constraints than we do. So I believe what I would like Wellcome to be is a real leader in this space that's looking about the whole structure of careers, doing whatever we can to ensure that the best people come into it and the best people continue into it to have a career.
And finally, what makes a good scientific leader?
Well, I've been very lucky in my career because I've been lucky enough to work with a number of truly great scientific leaders, I think, and some bad ones. And you learn something from all of them, and there's no perfect scientific leader. There's a number of different facets. I think the person has to be good at what they do. I think that's the foundation. But a great scientific leader is not just somebody that's good at what they do. A great scientific leader, I think, is somebody that inspires. I think it's somebody that has a sense of humour. I think it's somebody that really does enjoy the success of others. And I think increasingly we should judge a scientific leader by, yes, what he or she achieves. But I think perhaps a better judge is what do the people who he or she worked with go on to achieve. And I think if I look at the great scientific leaders I've been lucky enough to work with, it's not just their contribution. It's the contribution of the people that they mentored and they worked with, and the effect, the ripple effect they've had on a whole field. And that's where I think real scientific leadership is.